Long ago, we made a video on the GAC Emkoo, both the GL and the lower variant. And we ended up with the conclusion that the GAC Emkoo is probably one of the best compact crossovers that you can currently get in the Philippines at that time. In fact, we even said that it's also bang for your buck. But right now, they have a new model that came out sometime last year, and it is right here. This is the 2025 GAC Emkoo Hybrid. In this video, let's see if this car is still as good as its non-hybrid counterparts and if it is worth its money. In terms of styling, it's pretty hard to differentiate the GAC Emkoo Hybrid from its ICE counterparts. You see, on the exterior, it looks exactly the same with one very big exception. If you look around the GAC logo, there's like a blue halo on it, like a blue hue to it, one that you'd also find in Toyota hybrids, for example. That aside, the car still maintains its nice sharp appearance, its nice sharp grille, and you still do have that like black square down below for your sensors, for your advanced driver assistance system functions, as well as your really nice set of DRLs. And on the side too, the same is true. You still have these like two-tone rims. They're still 19 inches big, which is an excellent size for a car of its size. You still have like a floating roof effect from the blacked out pillars, and you also still do get your pop-out door handles. Fortunately and unfortunately, the rear also looks very similar. That spoiler effect on the top is still there. The nice sharp tail lamps are also still there, and yes, this is the very unfortunate part, the fake exhaust finishers and tips are also still there. I was expecting that since this is a hybrid, they would forego those fake things altogether, but unfortunately they didn't. Now, that aside, the GAC logo also has that blue hue to it, as well as the addition of a hybrid badge. Now, this tailgate, once this opens up, you'll notice that it's powered. The space in here is honestly really good, especially for a car of its size. This is truly the big difference that you'd get when you buy a compact SUV versus a subcompact crossover. In case you do have to expand this, those rear seats still do fold 60/40, and you still do get a false floor with a space saver spare tire. So the biggest change of the GAC Emkoo Hybrid versus a regular GAC Emkoo, of course, would be its powertrain. In a regular GAC Emkoo, you're going to get a 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine. What you have here instead is a much more efficient 2-liter non-turbocharged gasoline engine mated to an electric motor with about 2 kilowatts of battery power. You get 238 horsepower and 300 newton meters of torque with this one. So yes, you are down on torque, but since you do get instant torque, well, maybe it can be counteracted. We'll see that in the driving segment later on. For your transmission, you do lose out on that dual clutch transmission, and what you have instead is a 2-speed dedicated hybrid transmission. What about fuel economy? Obviously, it's way better. It's about double the fuel economy of a regular GAC Emkoo ICE. You can get around 14.3 kilometers per liter in heavy city traffic and about 22.5 kilometers per liter on the highway. Now we move inside the GAC Emkoo Hybrid, and as usual, we check the door. Yeah, still sounds pretty good. So inside here, there's also virtually no change to the interior, so it's still very similar to the ICE variant. Still do have this like 7-inch digital instrument cluster. You still do have your 10.1-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and no Android Auto. It's a GAC thing for some reason. You also do have your very clear reverse camera and 360-degree view camera in here. And what I love about this touchscreen is you still do have controls for your AC and your volume on either sides of it. It's not exactly like a physical button, but again, it's better than nothing. And just like the regular GAC Emkoo ICE, you still have that very funky this huge knob by the side which controls your AC temperature. Yeah, it's a very different thing. That aside, the materials in here aren't bad. You still do get some soft touch materials all over, including on the doors, including the center part. But my biggest complaint ever since would be the steering wheel. This is the thing with GACs. The interior feels good, with the exception of steering wheel, because it just feels extremely hollow. So I think they kind of cut costs there, or perhaps it's a safety thing when you crash into it. I'm not exactly sure, but all I can tell you is that it's not the best to touch. However, the leather wrapping is still okay, and this is still configurable, both tilt and telescopic. Now, here at the center is another one of my biggest complaints with the GAC Emkoo ever since, and that's the fact that the hazard switch, it's right above the engine stop-start button. So if you're going below like 10 kilometers per hour, more or less, and let's say you're gonna pull over and hit the hazard switch, you can accidentally turn off your vehicle, which has happened to me twice already. Yeah, annoying. The crystal-like shifter, the digital shifter is still there, so is your electronic parking brake, and you still do get your power seats for both the driver and the passenger side. These seats are leather-wrapped and they are pretty comfortable too. Also, the ambient lighting in here, it's pretty interesting. If there's like a car coming towards you, it's actually going to light up in red to remind you not to open your doors. If you have a blind spot, if there's a car in your blind spot and you turn on your turn signals, for example, that also lights up as an additional warning for your blind spot monitoring system. Your door handles too, your door, to open your door that is, it's also still that pull-up thing, which is also very interesting. Your speakers, you get a 6-speaker setup in here, and it says it's powered by DTS. It sounds pretty okay. I'd rate it like a 7/10. Good overall. On the top is still one big panoramic sunroof that you cannot open. And for advanced driver assistance system functions, it still is the full suite, which does include adaptive cruise control, autonomous emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and much more. Now for the second row, door first. Good sounding. Here at the back, space is really good. Again, just like the trunk area, this is really where you'll appreciate the difference between a subcompact crossover and a compact crossover. Even though they're both 5-seaters, for example, legroom is so much better in here compared to an M Zoom, and so is headroom, and so is seating a third person in the middle, because the car is so much wider compared to a subcompact crossover. In this case of the Emkoo, what I love about it too is that the floor is completely flat. So seating a third person in here, as long as it's not very far, very long journey, you'll be perfectly fine. Now, things I like too, rear air vents, yes, but what I don't like is the fact that you only have one USB-A port. There's not a single USB-C port here at the back. And for some reason, GAC decided to cut costs by not giving you a center armrest. But that's about it. So now we get to drive the GAC Emkoo Hybrid, and this car really improves upon the Emkoo by a lot when it comes to the driving experience. You see, this 2-liter engine, on paper it might not be as powerful in terms of torque, but again, since you do have that electric motor, you get that torque coming in instantly as you step on the accelerator pedal. Now, the GAC Emkoo 2, it had a very nice 1.5-liter engine, but yes, it does need a little bit of spooling up. Right here, it needs no spooling up. Now, you couple that with the removal of the dual clutch transmission, and what you have is a very smooth experience. This dedicated hybrid transmission is a joy to drive. It's very smooth even when you're going fast, and it's even smoother when you are in city speeds. Power is still very powerful even if you keep this in its eco or comfort mode. It's really nice. Power is very linear. You don't feel there's no gear shifts that you change. I know that there is a 2-speed dedicated hybrid transmission, but honestly, it feels like a single speed in here. You really don't feel like there's any sort of gears in here, which is always a good thing. But it doesn't feel like a CVT wherein it's rubber bandy, none of that. So yes, smooth driving experience is the best way I can describe this. So aside from having a smooth and powerful driving experience, this vehicle, just like the ICE counterpart, it's just really comfortable. I mean, the suspension is really tuned towards comfort. You don't feel much of the bumps in here. When you are going on the highway, you will hear a little bit of a tire noise, but the wind noise is pretty well subdued. That aside, the steering, it's pretty light for city speeds. It does tighten up a little bit on the highway. It feels very reassuring to drive. The advanced driver assistance system functions are also very smooth, both inside the city at low speeds and on the highway as well. And the handling, insofar as these compact crossovers are concerned, it handles its own weight. I know the 2.1 kilowatt hour battery really doesn't add much weight to this vehicle, so you don't really feel any of it. And yeah, body roll is honestly not bad for a car of its size. So overall, driving the GAC Emkoo on a day-to-day basis, it's really good. You'd enjoy it, you'd feel a lot of comfort in it, and it also feels like a very refined vehicle. We hereby conclude that the GAC Emkoo Hybrid is still an excellent vehicle. It's still a great performing vehicle, not just when it comes to its powertrain, its smoothness, its comfort, but even when it comes to its looks. But now we do have to talk about its pricing. You see, the GAC Emkoo Hybrid now costs 1,698,000 pesos, which is usually plug-in hybrid electric vehicle territory. Think about the BYD Sea Lion 6 or the Chang'an Nivo Q05. And since this is just a regular hybrid, we don't really think it's worth it anymore. While we do have reports that there are huge discounts on this vehicle, which makes it priced, I believe, below 1.4 million pesos, we can't really work with that. We always have to look at the SRP. So yes, SRP-wise, it's not really of great value. However, if you've always wanted the GAC Emkoo and you just want it in a hybrid format, well, this is your chance now to get it with a much smoother powertrain and of course, coding exemption as well.